Hey, everybody, welcome back. We are going to do a quick module on perception. I know you probably already watched the video that we did on law of attraction, and Chris brought up some really good points. So I wanted to bring this little exercise to you because I think it's a great way to illustrate what we see every day, what's going on, and what we're focusing on. So I have this pulled up already, and we're going to do just this quick exercise and before we break it up. I am going to pull up a sentence right now, and all I want you to do is count the number of F's, F's as in Frank. And you only have a few seconds, about 7 seconds to do this. All right? Here we go. Okay. I know that goes by fast, especially when you're trying to count. So we were just trying to count the number of F's in that sentence. And I'm going to start now. I know no one can answer, but how many of you out there counted 3 F's? Did anybody count 4 F's? 5 F's? Joyce is waving, maybe 6 F's. It doesn't really count with the coaches because we've done this before, but let's take a look at it again. How many F's were there? The finished files, oh, sorry, I'm going to the wrong one there. There are actually 6 F's in that statement. And I know most of you out there are probably like us the first time we went through this when we only saw like 3, maybe 2 or 4 F's and we didn't see them all. And I really like this demonstration because what it really points out is just because you only counted 3, does that mean there was only 3 F's there the first time around? Of course not. Of course all the F's are there. This is the same thing that's going on in your world. If you're focused on complaining and blaming and putting all this stuff about how bad it is or how hard it is to get something, you're not seeing the opportunities or the resources or the network connections or things like that that you need to get to your goal. Let me go ahead and get out of this real quick and we will open this up. Chris, it was kind of like you were talking in law of attraction, and I know we all had a part with the reticular activating system and what it's bringing in. This is why it's important. Have we been focusing on F's for a few months, we probably would have picked all those up. But when you start focusing on something, you start to see more things out there. Anyone ever have this experience happen to them in real life?
Absolutely.
You got an example you can share?
Sure. So I've been playing around with law of attraction, like ever since I figured it out. And sometimes every time I do it, I just kind of take it up a notch. And I was sitting at dinner the other day with some strangers. I mean, it was friends of mine, and then somebody new came to the table, and we just got to talking about football. And I'm like, it'd be really cool to go to this game. And 4 days later, he sends me a text. We're talking about a bowl game here. It's not like, the high school game down the street. Sends me a text and says, hey, these tickets became available. Are you still interested? And I mean, these are the kind of things that, I literally was just testing, see if it was possible. I wasn't trying to use my connection or anything. I was just like, I'm just going to throw it out there. And it's incredible. And every time I test it, I usually, something shows up, but then there's as I'm doing it more intentionally, then there's the being more specific about it. So what I didn't say is I'd like some free tickets to that bowl game.
That's a good caveat for that.
Be more specific.
More specific. So, that works with any of the concepts we've shared. And I don't know, I just thought was a real life example that's happened pretty recently. And it cracked me up because I knew I'd done it wrong, which not really, but anyway, that's a time recently that's come up for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Joyce?
I have a kind of a funny story. So I had mentioned in a previous video about me looking for a new car, and the Kia Optima's kind of caught my eye and how it's been showing up for me. And I was telling that story to another friend, and not an hour later after I had left her, I get a text message. She's like, I've seen 4 Kias. So it wasn't even on her radar even this much. It's not something that she's looking for, but because I told her the story, it then became part of her zeitgeist, her thought process. And all of a sudden she's like, I've seen 4 Kias in the last hour. So like my little Kia Optima is going to be the most popular car ever if I keep telling her the story.
That's exactly right, Joyce. It does that. Cars is one of the easy ones. You know, God, you get fixed on finding something, and then you see them all over town, and you see the ads and the online ads. So I've experienced that too, for sure. How about you, Chris?
Well, I had one recently. Ever since I left New York, I had this idea that I wanted to do a one-man show. And I don't know if I held the attention really that tightly. It's like, oh, I'd like to get all my stories together, start a stand-up comedy in this one. I started going through all the stories that I wanted to, put into our trainings here. I said, this would make a really good one-man show. Well, guess what happened 2 weeks ago? Run into the owner of a playhouse, going to meet my friend for lunch, and the owner of the playhouse in San Juan Capistrano is there. And I'm like, wow, how weird that I ran into the person who owns the playhouse and says, I was thinking of putting together a one-man show. She goes, oh, that would be great.
Oh, fun.
Let's put you in contact with our artistic director. And I'm like, okay, I guess this is going to happen. So the idea of you just sharing this idea or having this intention in your head, all of a sudden these opportunities come up. Now, if I hadn't had in my head, I would have met the owner of the playhouse and just been like, oh, look, how neat, I met the owner of a playhouse. But because I had that intention, all of a sudden, you could say the law of attraction brought that into my world, or you could say, because I had that intention, I was able to see it. So,
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. I had a similar one. I was talking to you guys before we started recording. I've been putting out there that I wanted to get something more clear on the communication part of some of my writing. And now I have this new mastermind group that someone reached out to me and we want to talk about communication. I had lunch earlier in the week with somebody else who wanted to talk about it. So yeah, like you said, once you start focusing on it, you'll start seeing more F's in your world. You'll start seeing those connections like, hey, I want to talk about this with you, or you see that ad, like come find out what you need here. So I think a good lesson here is be open though to how it's going to present itself to you. You know what I mean? If you like one-man show, that could have went anywhere, right? Or the Kia or whatever. You just have to be open to who's going to be there. And if you have that intuition to say yes to something, like going to lunch, it's like, I don't know why, but I'm going to go to lunch with this person. I haven't seen him in ever. And then you run into somebody at lunch, that's the connection. So.
Well, and that was it. It was one of those things where I happened to be down there for another appointment. I said, hey, I wonder if my friend Mike's going to be there, and called him like, oh yeah, I'm here. I'm having lunch. I'm like, I come down, and it's the owner of the playhouse that he's having lunch with. Like you want to say that serendipity, you want to call that the law of attraction. This is what we call about the difference between inspired, right, action and intentional action. Like calling the playhouses would have been, intentional. Inspired is, hey, I want to call my friend, and my friend happens to be having lunch with the owner of the playhouse. So that's why we encourage you to remember those kind of intuitive, thoughts that you have and follow them.
As Angie says, listen to your whispers.
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly right. So I think a lot of people get frustrated because they will say something like, oh, I want to put on my one-man show. But instead of focusing on how it's going to happen, they focus that it's not happening. Like, why won't anyone let me put on a one-man show? Why isn't this happening? And this is really starting to get difficult. All I want to do is put on this one-man show. But the problem is you're staying in this mindset of like why it can't happen. So literally you're seeing more F's, but the F's you're now seeing are the reasons why you couldn't do it. Maybe you're scared. Maybe you don't have it you don't have a show prepared yet. That could hold you back. I don't even have it prepared.
I don't have a show prepared, just so everybody knows.
Exactly. But that's not what you were focused on.
Right. That's not. I was like, I want to put it on. So that's a good point. What I say, that's the obstacles, right? And there's a quote, and I don't know who it is. It's like, obstacles are what you see when you take your eyes off your goal.
Wow.
Right? So when you're sitting there and you go, gosh, these are all the things preventing me from doing this, then you're going to find more things to prevent you from doing whatever it is that you want to do, whether it's buy a Kia show or get tickets to a game. You're going to, there's no way I'm going to get this because for this reason, I'm not going to get tickets to the bowl game. Or,
right.
Who would I know? Be really great to have it. That's how these show up. Again, be intentional. I'd like free tickets to the bowl game.
Yeah, the guy was from Sacramento. He'd been in town for 2 days. I'm like, yeah, that's the life he just left it's exactly that. And it's also believing that those F's are there. I think that's that's probably a whole nother module, but it's believing that the answers are there to be looking for them. Not just, well, wouldn't it be nice if? It's somebody is not going to that game. Somebody's not going to be able to use their tickets last minute. Somebody's going to have a private jet that's going from Oklahoma to California. Okay.
I like how it keeps plussing for her. You see, you know, it keeps going up. It's like, you know.
Right.
I want to go to the game now too. If they're
Well, actually, Matt, I'm going to come skiing instead, which was a better opportunity. So
oh, that's right. Yeah.
That's a whole nother conversation.
All right. Wait, now, so just so we're curious, what bowl game is it?
The OU. I mean, sorry, the Rose Bowl. But to me, it's the OU game, but it's the Rose Bowl.
Okay.
In Alabama.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought that up, Joanna, because like you said, believing it's possible is big, because that is what starts changing your aspect to how am I going to find solutions versus why am I seeing all these obstacles or challenges that are in my way. So we've talked about mindset, we're talking about law of attraction, we're talking about getting clear, and it's all part of the same road, because once you switch and you stop the complaining and blaming and seeing all the BS, you'll start seeing the F's, you'll start getting the tickets, you'll start getting the offers, and then you can go, oh yeah, thank you, law of attraction, here I am, this is what I'm asking for. You'll start realizing, I always say you got to be ready for the opportunity, and you're never ready for the opportunity when you're down and you can't figure out why it's not working, because then, hey, I own a playhouse, like Chris said, oh cool, nice to meet you, man, but you weren't focused on what you wanted, so you would have missed that whole opportunity had you been grumpy and looking at all the bad things that aren't happening. So that's why it's really important to keep your mind on your goals. So I don't know, do any of you have anything else you want to wrap up on this topic?
Go ahead, Chris.
That was the fake. That was the fake.
That's right.
Well, I was going to,
Go ahead.
go ahead, Chris. Go ahead. You, me, you. Go. Okay, so I was just going to echo a little bit of what you were saying is you really do have to kind of clear out that negativity, whatever it is that is your obstacle, get it out of the way as quickly as possible. There are going to be times in your life that there are challenges. There are true challenges. We're not thinking, everything is magical and rainbows and unicorns. I mean, there are challenges in your life, but face them head on and get them out of the way as quickly as possible and concentrate on how whatever it is that's happening in your life can be a plus or an opportunity to learn something new, to embrace, or even I have had happen to me where I have seen something and I'm like, this felt like it was an obstacle or a challenge for me, and as I'm going through it, it has brought me into better. So you just think about it that way too. Is it might feel like a challenge right now, but that challenge or whatever it is that's bringing you to it could bring you to the more F's. It could bring you to the things that you need to get to that other goal. It could introduce you to a new person. It could open up a new opportunity. So embrace the challenges as well, and get them done as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Thanks, Joyce. Chris, did you want to unswallow your key now? You ever see that regurgitator? You ever see that guy? No? All right.
Well, look, to what Joyce says, like I had an acting teacher who said that which hinders your task is your task, and that was in acting. So when you're doing something, that which hinders your task is your task. But that's what it is in life. If something you think is the obstacle, if that's hindering your task, that's your task. So you have to focus on those things. Well, I want to get this out of the way so I can get to this. It's just an obstacle that that you have to get over, under, around to get to your goal. And that's why, again, it's so important that we stress having those written goals and looking at them on a regular basis.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're on the right path, the hard work isn't really hard work, because Chris, it's going to be hard work putting together a one-man play or a one-man show.
It's going to be a lot of fun too.
But it's going to be the fun part, because that's what you enjoy. The hard part would have been cold calling every playhouse in California or trying, that's the hard work. So if you work on inspired action, the work is actually easy, so I think that's good. And believe it's possible, accept the challenges, and then just be open to what you want, I think is a real key, because your resources and everything you need are out there. You just got to be ready for them. So this was the perception exercise. I hope you guys understand where we're going. Thank you for your time. We'll see you at the next module.